In the last video that I recorded, I talked about the ICP, or Ideal Customer Profile. This is usually the criteria that's made up to define what a good customer might look like, right? What is the customer that is going to get the most value and be the most successful in a partnership with you and your company? Well, I got a lot of questions about, what happens if our sales team closes a customer that's not an ICP? And the reality of it is, this is going to happen probably more often than it's not, especially in early stage companies where you're still trying to figure out what exactly that ICP is. So if you're a CSM, let's talk about how you navigate that. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Christy Falteruso. I've spent the past 12 years in customer success, building, scaling, and transforming customer success teams in B2B hypergrowth SaaS companies. I'm currently the Chief Customer Officer at a company called Client Success. We are a customer success management solution company, helping our customers manage from new to renew. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you have watched any of my other videos, welcome back. Hopefully you'll like the content we've got for you today and you'll like and subscribe. So let's get back to our topic. So we're talking about the ICP. You're a customer success manager in a company. Your sales team closes a customer that is not the ideal fit, right? They are not the ideal customer profile. So what should you as a CSM do? The first thing is don't panic, right? This is going to happen. And an ICP customer versus a non-ICP customer. Yes, there are some factors that come into play here, right? Some criteria that says these customers that are ICP have a greater potential or probability of being successful with your company. But that doesn't mean that customers that are non-ICP can't be successful. It might just take a different approach. It might take different resources. Those are the things that we'll need to factor and consider. So let's talk about this. If you're a CSM today and your sales team closes a customer, you're so excited. You want to welcome them into the partnership. You're eager to get them started and kicked off. But now you've identified that they are a non-ICP customer. So what can you do? The first piece of advice I'm going to give you is make note of this. Right? And this isn't to tattle or to tell on somebody or you're keeping a list here and to go share at a later date. It's really to help document to say that this customer that came into the partnership at the time that they did was a non-ICP, right? And you might want to even make some notes there, indicating what part of the criteria did they not meet. So if you say, we sell to customers in a certain industry or a certain stage in their maturation or, customers that are spending a certain amount, there's some criteria there that this customer didn't qualify, right? They didn't meet this criteria. Just make note of what criteria they didn't meet. So this way we can start to assess later in the partnership if these things really had a big significant factor on the customer's ability to be successful. So really what we're doing is we're making a note of this so we can learn, so we can adjust, so we can say, hey, listen, in the future, if another customer that looks like this comes in, here is what we have to augment. Here is the different approach that we have to take. So your first thing, you're going to make note of that. Now, it could be in your CRM, right? So something like Salesforce or HubSpot or Zoho, whatever your sales team might be using for that prospect or that sales management, that CRM, that might be your source of truth in your business. You could also have access to a CSP, so a customer success platform like Client Success, the one I work for, or some other solution. So wherever it makes the most sense for you and your business, make a note that this was a non-ICP customer when they came into the partnership. Now, the reason I keep stressing when they came in is because the reality of it is you could have a customer who comes in today as a non-ICP, but depending on what criteria you use to assess ICP, that could evolve over time. And so this customer might not be an ICP today, but they could be later down the line. So what we really want to do is document it in the moment that the customer came into the partnership. So that is step one, documentation. Step two, we've got to assess, right? So obviously there are certain criteria about this customer that says that they are non-ICP, which means they might have a harder time being successful with your partnership, with your product. Now you've got to figure out, what is that gap, right? What is the delta in the ICP? Let's say, for example, it's resourcing. right? This customer, ideally we sell to customers that have certain roles. Let's just say it's an operations role or an admin role, because you need somebody who's going to be building out your product, right? Or a project manager, something like that. But this company, they don't have that, right? They are a smaller team than you're used to selling to. And so they've got some resource constraints. They're trying to be creative with using the people that they've got access to in their business. And now you've got to work with a team that might not have the same experience, the same skills that you're used to working with, which means that you might be required to do a little bit more education, or you might be required in bringing in some of your team to bridge that gap. So assess what you're working with, assess the situation, assess what the delta is in that ICP, and then the next thing you're gonna have to do is figure out, how do we augment or how do we adjust so that way we can help this customer be successful with the partnership, right? So if the first thing is you want to document it, the second thing you want to assess, the last thing you want to do is adjust or augment your process to adjust to this customer's needs. Because at the end of the day, listen, you are a customer success manager. Your job is to make all of your customers as successful as possible, right? And we know that to make your customer successful, they've got to get value from your product, right? They've got to be able to achieve their goals. They've got to have a good experience. And so this is very much in your control. Now, what I've learned a lot about ICP and non-ICP customers is not, like I mentioned earlier, it's not that they can't be successful. You just have to take a different approach. And because your organization might be staffed or augmented or built or designed a certain way to support a specific customer type, you've got to be nimble in the sense to say, this customer doesn't fit that profile, but we can still help them be successful. Let's be creative about how we do that. And this is really where you can thrive as a CSM and you can really shine, because if you can take a customer who isn't necessarily your ICP, that ideal customer profile, and still make them successful, it says a lot about you and your ability to drive success throughout your customer base. So those are the three things that I'm going to tell you. The last piece of advice I will give you, it kind of falls in line with the first one, which is document, is you want to socialize this out. So you want to make sure that your manager is aware, that the sales leader is aware, that the AE who closed it is aware. Obviously, I'm sure throughout the sales process, while they're qualifying customers, this has come up, right? I'm sure they're aware that this was a non-ICP customer, but it's end of month, it's end of quarter, we're looking to bring in more revenue for the business. This customer was interested, they wanted to buy, this made sense for everyone, so we brought them into the partnership. But it is important to socialize this to make sure that we're all on the same page, because at the end of the day, if sales continues to bring in non-ICP customers, and again, we're having to augment and redesign and redeploy our processes and the way that we work with customers, this could be a burden on the customer success team. So we just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that everyone understands what is going to be required to make this customer successful, how we'll have to augment our processes, and obviously let them know that we're willing and able to do whatever we can to make this work. It's in the best interest of our customer. It's in the best interest of the business, but we want to make sure that we avoid this in the future if and when possible. So hopefully if you're a CSM and you've just inherited a non-ICP customer, you're not panicking. It's not the end of the world. No one did this to you. You've got an opportunity to step up, to step out, and to shine. Let's just do our best to make this customer successful, and hopefully they'll be successful long term. So thanks so much for joining me today. Hopefully we'll catch you back on our next video. Take care.